So all this talk about the best aspect ratio, I mean, what does that mean? What is the best aspect ratio? Is there a best aspect ratio? Let's get to it. So your camera does determine the aspect ratio that you shoot at, but that doesn't mean you have to stick with that. You can change your aspect ratio. And we all know that you can go into post and you can crop your image. And then this Nikon D850, you can actually go in and select the aspect ratio that you want to shoot in. Now it's limited, it only has a few options, but it does help me kind of frame up my composition, and that's what's most important. But the truth is that you can crop it to whatever you want in post. If you just kind of shoot the aspect ratio that's set by your camera, it's kind of like hauling around a ball and chain on your feet. The truth is that you have options, and the aspect ratio shouldn't determine your image, but rather your image or your photograph should determine the aspect ratio. So what I'm saying is the aspect ratio that you choose should be based on the composition. What I mean is, don't let the camera's sensor size determine your composition. In the end, it's all about the composition. And the thing is what we have to think about in the field is elements of the composition, balance of the composition. Where do the points of interest lie? Where's the main subject? Are we taking into consideration the rule of thirds, leading lines? And when we take those things into consideration, where is the aspect ratio play into that? And the thing is if it requires a 1:1 crop, a square image, to have the elements of the composition where you need them to be to kind of capture that viewer's attention, then that's what your aspect ratio should be. If that's 3:2, then so be it. Or for that matter, if it's portrait orientation and you got a 2:3, 2 across the top and 3 on the bottom, then that's what you should pursue. So the thing is, and what's most important, and always comes back to this, it's composition. Hands down, one of the most important things about landscape photography to keep in mind is artistic expression. You don't want a ball and chain on your feet that you have to drag around up here trying to follow rules and meet everyone's expectation. The thing is, there's really only one person you have to please, and that's yourself. And the rule of thirds, for example, it's not a hard, fast rule. It's a guide. It's meant to offer suggestions in your photography, but the creative expression is yours. And that's what you bring to the act of photography. You're creating your creative expression. And the thing is it's kind of like this scene right here. I mean, I could have put the tree smack dab in the middle, and well, I just don't think that's very interesting. But rather having it kind of off center in the thirds area, and also I can use the leading lines of the coral stones here to draw the viewer in, to bring interest into the image. So another thing to think about with aspect ratio is, what's the final product? Is it a print? And if so, where's that print going to go? Is it going to go picture frames? Is it going to go on the house, on the wall, in the office? All those things are considerations. But I wouldn't say that I would come out here and shoot a 1:1 aspect ratio just because I got a square picture frame at home that I want to stick a picture in. Now, if you want to do that, that's certainly your prerogative. But the best way I could ever say it is use the aspect ratio as a thought, but use it to hone the composition to where you want the composition to be. Something else to consider is that if you're shooting for a client, you may not have a choice. The client may need a 4:3 aspect ratio, and you have to shoot everything 4:3. So that's just something to think about. And then when you're doing that, when you're framing up your subject, obviously you keep in mind the aspect ratio or the constraints of the aspect ratio that you have to shoot in. So in post-processing, yes, we can change the aspect ratio. Often if we zoom in and we crop, we lose a lot of pixels. So that takes away some of the quality of the image. And depending on what you're doing with the image, I mean, that might be a factor. I mean, if you're wanting to print large, then you certainly want to get it right in camera when you're in the field to give yourself as many pixels as you can possibly get to work with, so that your image quality is where you want it to be. But if you're posting something on social media and somebody's looking at it on their phone, I mean, you know, just saying. That's another consideration too, so it might not be that big a deal. But post-processing is also a way to change aspect ratios. But you have to keep that in mind when you're in the field working the image. Don't let aspect ratio be that ball and chain that's wrapped around your feet and inhibits your creativity. When you're out in the field, think about the composition and what's most important. And use aspect ratio just like any other tool that's in the photographer's tool bag, so that you can make the composition the best that it can be. Truly, so you can take that vision that you have in the mind's eye and put it in print. And that's what's most important. Well, talking about aspect ratio, I did capture a couple of images this morning and yesterday morning, and I'll put those at the end of the video. Hey, if you like this video, you may like another video that I made on wide-angle lens photography, and I'll put a link to that in the end in the video description. Well, that's it. I got to get out of here. But hey, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. And if I don't see you down the road, maybe I'll see you somewhere out here on the trail.